Hello everyone, this is Phi. Today I'm checking out Dueling Angry Spheres from the default project. This is a game I've not played before, I've not seen it before, I don't know anything about this, but we're going to give it a shot and see if we can give some useful feedback. Got the game page open here, it mentions some controls. It says left mouse button to shoot, right mouse button to dash, middle mouse button to quick turn, W and S to override acceleration, J to toggle keyboard controls. I don't know what you're toggling here. P to pause. Alright, so a couple things I'll mention real quick. It's a little weird to use the middle mouse button amidst these things, potentially. I mean, that's just the impression I get. I can try it out before I pass judgment, I guess, but maybe it works out fine. But P to pause, kind of an old school thing. I don't care for that. I much prefer being able to reach for the escape key rather than like across the keyboard to try and find the P key. But just mention real quick. But we're going to go ahead and jump into this. I'll get rid of that overlay. I've not seen anything past the screen. Looks like we have some options. Text block, game, point to mouse, use WS for acceleration. Okay. Player will turn on its own towards the mouse cursor. Player will automatically accelerate depending on distance from mouse. So this is going off the screen. I don't know if that's intentional or what. WS or forward backward can still be used to override the acceleration. Presumably if I enable that, then it won't automatically accelerate. That's interesting. It has a turning scale all the way up to 1. Turn on its own towards the mouse cursor. Wonder why you might want to turn that down. Shoot is left mouse button or V. Quickly turn is middle mouse button or C. Alright, let's go ahead and click resume, I guess. I didn't pause it, but this is what we see here. So it looks like, yeah, it's not instantaneously turning or anything. Alright, looks like if I hit the mouse button, it overrides the inertia, which actually feels really good. I like this sort of thing. And this is actually, right, this is a little challenging. Alright, so there's some interesting things in here. I guess this is sort of like a left rousers, or what's that other one that came out recently? I don't remember. Similar to those games. I haven't actually played left rousers, if that's even how that's pronounced, I don't know. But I played the other game, at least the like an alpha version of it. But let me see if I can. Is there pause? Escape, I guess, shows debug text or something, or is that just showing up anyways? No, that's just showing up anyways. Alright, P is the pause. I forgot already. Okay, so a couple things. When you have this kind of game with a lot of inertia. Oh, okay, so it accelerates faster when you move the cursor more, and then let me try the W and S real quick here. They don't seem to be. Okay, I guess it just adds to the current acceleration. Or maybe it doesn't. Okay. If I press and hold S, I kind of expect it to stop or slow down or something, like a brake. But I guess it just doesn't accelerate. It just like lets drag slow you down or something. It's just kind of weird. Then I guess the W key kind of works as like a max acceleration. Yes. A little weird. What I was going to mention, so when you have a lot of inertia like this, it kind of acts as like the movement controls are kind of less responsive in a sense, where you can't change direction quickly. Like it takes a while for the inertia to be overcome, so you can't respond really fast to bullets and stuff. But if you have a what I suppose is sort of a boost mechanic, which is on the right mouse button, where you just instantly move in the next direction, that allows you to overcome the inertia. So that's the kind of thing that feels really good, because there are certain benefits, of course, to having inertia like this, because it kind of feels cool. generally. It just kind of feels cool, I guess, to fly around. But then you get the benefit of being able to suddenly overcome the inertia to dodge things. So that feels really good. I've always been a fan of that kind of concept. I just wanted to point that out. I think that's nice. I also like the visuals that are showing the direction of the enemy. It's a really nice touch. I remember I think a lot of games kind of have trouble with this sort of thing where they don't give you as much information as you'd like to just like find the enemies and stuff like that. And I think this works really well. So even though this seems quite crude, I can already see some elements of it that I think seem pretty nice. I'm thinking, oh, okay. So I hit the pause key, but I guess I died like the instant before the pause screen showed up. So it showed that weird view of the map or something. I'm gonna try this. I haven't tried middle mouse button yet. Resume. So yeah, okay. Oh, there's actually gravity that kicks in when you hold hold S. You just kind of fall, so that's interesting. Still, I kind of wish for more of a break. Be able to slow down quicker. Rather than just kind of letting whatever happen. It still feels like, even though I changed the setting, it still feels like it's accelerating based on automatically. Oh, this is silly. Oh my gosh. It still feels like it's accelerating based on the distance the mouse is going, even though I'm not touching any buttons right now. So, okay, I'm sure I did enable this at some point. Maybe, let's see. Maybe if you die, it defaults back to this off or something like that? Okay, so in this mode, it still seems to go forward automatically. But if you press W, it goes a little faster. It's not really even that obvious. I mean, you can tell, but I almost kind of wish it was a little more obvious. Alright, so you do have to wait for your ship to turn around in order to aim. So if you're trying to do quick maneuvers, like you're trying to go up here, then you want to shoot this way and then go this way. It's a little hard because it takes a while for you to turn around and then you're moving in that direction while you're shooting. Another thing I'm noticing is, so even though this is enabled, it does accelerate for you. I think if you, like, I don't know if this is intentional, like this. If it's meant to work this way, like it accelerates a little bit, but then the W goes faster, that kind of thing. But I think if you made it the other way where it actually doesn't accelerate at all until you press W. Oh, I guess you're not supposed to touch those. I thought they were like power-ups or something. If you do it that way, that opens up some movement options. So you can send yourself into a direction, and then you can just let off the throttle, and you can like spin around and shoot at something while your trajectory continues in that direction. So that opens up options for you doing more of these interesting maneuvers with the aiming and stuff that you don't seem to get right now because it's always automatically going in the direction you're aiming, which is not what you want all the time. So I would definitely recommend doing that. Like I wouldn't even make this an option. I think it should be the default that you just you can control whether or not you are accelerating at any point in time so that you can do those sorts of things. Try the middle mouse button. I still haven't. Okay, so it just does a 180. That's something I've never seen before. Like actually moving the cursor to the. Apparently there's like a cooldown or something, or it's not working anymore. Also, the right mouse button isn't working. Okay, so there's a meter in the bottom left. It looks like the blue meter is sort of an energy gauge or something. for doing these special maneuvers. I don't know if that's better than just having them on cooldown or something. In my opinion, it might be simpler just to have cooldowns. This looks kind of cool. It's just like, you know, extremely basic, but it still looks cool. Yeah, but I think it might actually be kind of nice if there were cooldowns on each individual ability rather than this whole meter, because it's really hard to keep track of a meter like this in a game of this sort. You know, you're not really going to look down here for one thing, and even if you do like put a lot of work into the UI, maybe you make some kind of centralized thing or whatever, people don't, I mean, I'm assuming based on my own experience, but I don't think people like to look at these UI elements directly. Like they just like you only look at them when you're forced to, kind of like you really need to know some bit of information or whatever. You don't really want to bother with it otherwise if you don't have to. So if you just put abilities like that on a cooldown, then people kind of know, you know, if I use that ability recently, then I have to wait for a bit, and you kind of internalize that time period after playing a while, and then you just kind of automatically know I just used that ability, and I'll have to wait before I can use it again. It's much simpler, I think, than trying to keep track of meter, which apparently is, it goes down if you run into something. So that's interesting. I guess you want to decentivize smacking into stuff, which I don't think is entirely necessary. I mean, it's almost kind of fun to like utilize that. I mean, you have another means to change direction quickly, but I think it's kind of fun to bounce off stuff. I don't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, it feels pretty cool, even though it doesn't. So if you don't wait for it to rotate a bit before you click, if you just go really quickly, it still takes a bit for the craft to like turn around. So it doesn't immediately go in the direction, excuse me, the direction you're kind of boosting towards, but it feels kind of cool the way, like if you do it really fast, the way it kind of does like a little sort of maneuver instead of just going directly in that direction, but at the same time it might lead to, you know, little situations where you might accidentally run into something where you're just trying to make a really tight movement through things and it's not quite entirely like in your control because you're still making this sort of arc. You wait a moment before you do it, it feels like it's a lot more kind of doing what you want, like it kind of just snaps to the direction, but if you do it really quick, it kind of gives you a bit of a different behavior. It's actually quite different. I think it's a little too different. Like it doesn't quite feel right. You don't really expect to get such a wildly different behavior from, you know, the same ability, I guess. So I almost wonder if that would be something to kind of remove. I don't even have my left hand on the keyboard right now. I'm just kind of playing with the mouse movement. And I also haven't been using the W key, even though I have that. I think it's still enabled. Oh yeah, this disabled itself, I think. I just don't remember. I don't know. Messing with it. Yeah, this totally disables itself, but I guess I'll do it without for now. So this idea of the 180 that moves the mouse for you is a little weird because on the one hand it seems like a good idea, you know, because it well, for one thing, it keeps consistency with the controls. You're supposed to move towards the mouse cursor, obviously. And, you know, it kind of puts the mouse where you theoretically would want it if you're going to do a 180. So it kind of makes sense, but on the other hand, you because your mouse cursor is kind of in some way tied to a real-world position on your mouse pad, and the position of your mouse, if something moves your cursor for you, then you kind of offset your a sort of real world mouse position where your hand is a little bit, and you can kind of get into situations where you're kind of in the wrong part of the mouse pad all of a sudden. I think there's like pros and cons to weigh with that concept. It might even be, I don't even know if you could make it an option. It seems like it should be an option, but like I mentioned before, there's the issue of the if the plane is supposed to always move towards the mouse cursor. So if you turned off the option and then you hit the 180, what would happen? And I can imagine, you know, maybe you could have it spin into a 180 and then have like a really short timer before it starts going towards the mouse position again. It's like maybe you could hit it and then like manually move the mouse back in the other position, that kind of thing. Which, you know, might be worth testing. It might feel okay, I don't know, or it might not. But it's an idea. So yeah, I don't really know what to do. I guess I'm supposed to kill the enemies and stuff, but I haven't really felt like engaging with them that much. As much as just kind of... Oh, so that actually was a power-up. Yeah, so it's a little weird, like the circles. I guess some enemies shoot out these circles that just kind of stay in place. I don't know if that's meant to be like a mine or something, but they kind of look like power-ups to me, so I don't know if that's... Maybe that's something worth, you know, changing the visual language of a bit. I don't remember if there's any other controls I forgot to press. Yeah, I don't really see a reason to use the S key. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I just realized. Okay. So yeah, it just seems kind of unorthodox, but I can see now what's going on here. So I don't know if this showed up in any of these other games that this is inspired by that I didn't play or something, but I mean, someone probably noticed, the developer probably noticed, where I was talking about doing this thing where you can just kind of maintain your momentum or your inertia in a direction and then aim in other directions without accelerating in that direction. Which is exactly what you can do if you hold the S key. So, for some reason I didn't quite figure that out, that it can be used that way until now. So, in that regard, you know, I can see what you're doing here, but I think the fact that for whatever reason, even if you have this enabled, you still end up accelerating. Just less so. I would definitely change that, because I don't think you should accelerate by default with this enabled, so that you can kind of, instead of pressing S, just not press anything and then go into free fall. It's just less buttons to press, so rather than going between W and then going to S back and forth, you just either hold W or not. I think that just makes a lot more sense, in my opinion. So yeah, that's what I would say. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I can see. Yeah, it feels awkward to me to go back and forth between two buttons. Something like that. Just like extra stuff for your brain to work on. Okay, so one of these glowing things was a power-up. The other one I kind of knew it wasn't, but it was like I was already in the trajectory and I didn't know how to get myself off of it in time. But yeah, I don't know if there's much more I can see in the game. I think it's mostly... I don't know if there's anything you can actually, like a level you can pass or something. I can't find myself caring that much. I think it's just interesting to play with the feeling of the flight and stuff. It does look like your shots slow down after a bit, and they have a little bit of a sort of a heat effect. Oh, I guess this red part, this red glow down at the bottom left, is showing your heat of sorts for your weapon. Hold on a second, what does A and D do? This modifies your rotation a little bit, I guess? And was that mentioned? I'm gonna look at the game page real quick. What happened to the angry spheres, by the way? I don't see any spheres. I thought I was gonna pilot a sphere. Yeah, it doesn't mention A and D, but for some reason they do something. Just modify your angle of movement. That's kind of weird. Wait a minute, what? Oh, it's just the way it's bouncing off things. Okay, for some reason if you hold A or D and then you bump into a wall, it starts going off at like a weird trajectory here. You can see. Pretty weird. Don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, I don't know if we're going to get much more out of this, but it's really interesting. I like these sorts of games. With what very little experience I've had with them, a really kind of cool feeling to the movement and everything. So I think you have a solid foundation. Needs some polish and maybe more interesting enemies and all this stuff, but hopefully the video is useful for you. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'll see you in the next one.